Having grown up in Seoul, South Korea until the age of 6 before moving with her family to the US, actress and music artist REI is the walking embodiment of the American dream, though her hard-fought journey to Golden was no fairy tale. Most popularly known so far for singing/rapping for the character of Zoey in Netflix's global phenomenon K-pop Demon Hunters, REI now has her sights set on her next creative moves within her ever-expanding career. With K-pop Demon Hunters receiving 5 Grammy nominations, 3 Golden Globe nominations, and 2 Critics' Choice nominations, the animated film's hit song, Golden, with vocals from EJAE, Audrey Nuna, and REI, has become a worldwide anthem in 2025 and continues to shatter records within the music industry, including it reaching #1 on Billboard's radio songs chart. Born Sarah Yeon Lee, but professionally known as REI, which was inspired by a combination of Sailor Moon characters. I sat down with REI for a friendly conversation during the holiday season at Steak 48 in Beverly Hills, California, with the objective to allow our world a real glimpse inside the life of this powerhouse artist, far beyond her now iconic K-pop Demon Hunters sound. Having moved to Maryland from Seoul at such a young age, I wondered what were the most exciting parts for REI, as well as the biggest challenges in moving west with all of the cultural differences. REI said, "Well, my dad's main reason was he wanted to provide his 2 daughters, me and my older sister, with an American education because that's highly coveted in Korea. Usually you see these international students who are super wealthy. They get shipped off to the West for higher education. Maryland, Montgomery County specifically, it's super diverse, not just in terms of race, ethnicity, but socioeconomic status. You could live in one neighborhood and drive 5 minutes and be met with mansions. Also, because they did have a large Korean population, we settled on that area. I think the hardest adjustment was obviously the language barrier. I knew 0 English, my parents knew 0 English, and I think watching them acclimate and having to learn all the new traditions, the language, the culture, that as a kid was really hard. I picked up the language within 2 years, then by 2nd grade I was fluent." She added about her parents' sacrifices during her childhood. "It was very challenging financially. My dad was a mechanic. He would wake up at the crack of dawn and go to the shop and come back when the sun's down, dirt in between his fingernails. My mom would work like 13-hour days at a soft tofu soup restaurant in Rockville, Maryland, not knowing any English. She was a waitress for 6 years. I think at a very young age I realized life was not sweet and it required people to show up. It required you to have some kind of work ethic, some kind of discipline to even just put food on the table, make sure rent was covered and a roof was over our heads." Following REI's K-pop Demon Hunters' success and the financial gains that have followed for her, she was excited to share this latest full-circle update with me. "It's crazy because I actually surprised them and I paid off their mortgage. It was a goal I've had for as long as I can remember." REI took a pause while sharing this happy news with me, getting visibly emotional just thinking about what she has been able to achieve for her parents. For all their sacrifice, for the hours that they missed out on our lives. My sister had to take care of me, and we were learning how to make ramen at an age when we shouldn't be even touching the stove, you know? As for REI's singing abilities, I was curious if she could recall when she first realized that this might be a talent that she could really pursue in life. The first memory is in Korea, actually. My mom had brought home a VHS tape of The Little Mermaid. It had the Korean title and the Korean subtitles. So I remember first watching it, not understanding. Also, I could barely read at the time. I was like 4 years old. I just remember hearing the music and just being so fascinated and just so drawn to the movie. I didn't know the plot. I was just like, this girl is a mermaid and then she grows legs. Then we moved to the States, and I have this obsession with the song Part of Your World. Our apartment complex had a little pool, and I would bring a fork and I would brush my hair. I wanted to be Ariel so bad. REI went on to say that while she was growing up during the height of Disney Channel popularity with movies like Lizzie McGuire and the Cheetah Girls, she remembers reenacting the Cheetah Girls' foursome music group songs alongside her friends. When I started singing, all my friends got quiet. They just looked at me and they're like, "We just want to listen to you, Sarah. You can actually sing." And I was like, "What are you talking about?" Having previously publicly addressed her mental health struggles, I respectfully wondered if REI could pinpoint when these issues initially appeared in her life and how she ultimately used music as a healthy therapy-like outlet for her. REI said, "Earlier in college, I got diagnosed with chronic depression, which actually turned out to be a false diagnosis. Then, a year later, I got diagnosed with severe ADHD. However, they put me on Prozac, they put me on all these medications. At the time, I kept this very quiet. My parents had no idea, and I was taking these antidepressants. None of it worked. It made me completely numb. Honestly, if I had a bad day, it almost worsened my effects. I felt very confused by it all, and so I decided to get off of it. I will say that it kind of encouraged me to go deeper into my own research, like tendencies and why I swing so left and right, this polarization. It's not really depression. I would have spouts of depression, but then I'd have moments of mania. When I talked to my best friend, who is bipolar, she was like, maybe you should get re-diagnosed. That's when I got diagnosed with bipolar, which is, I am absolutely bipolar. I didn't get that formal diagnosis until like 3 years ago." She continued by saying, "I think within my music, even before the diagnosis, that bipolar was speaking through, which was my refusal to stick to a genre, my refusal to stay in one emotional state. You see a lot of switches in my music more now, like it's constant switches of ups and downs. Music was the only consistent thing in my life. It was my first love. It was the only thing that I felt like when I put my headphones on, I can truly feel as crazy as I need to be, and it validates all the crazy thoughts and the crazy voices. Yeah, these outbursts are not appropriate sometimes, but maybe utilize it for something good." Even with this recent clarity for REI, she described to me her music career before K-pop Demon Hunters as peaks and valleys, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, frustrations with her record label at the time, and other factors. REI said, "In the middle of COVID, I moved to LA. I signed this deal, and everyone before COVID is like, you're going to be on tour and blah blah blah, all these things. Those all came to a halt. So I'm pretty much limited to the confines of my apartment in LA. I'm doing what I can, but the world has stopped." Then her music label folded, but REI remained contractually obligated to stay with them until the contract ended, which professionally stopped her from pursuing new opportunities and possible financial opportunities. "I wasn't allowed to part ways with my label, which was so frustrating. This label has dissolved, and now I'm essentially homeless." By summer 2022, REI says that she was finally released from her contract and was able to walk away freely. However, she was soon dropped by her business manager as well as a few of her West Coast friends after they felt that they could no longer get anything out of REI, which she says is such an LA thing. Now being left in debt by her former business manager, with limited job and social opportunities presenting themselves, REI decided to move back to Maryland to be close to family and take a moment to consider her next life and career moves, while still flying back to LA for jobs that would arise and then return to the East Coast. Then, in the summer of 2024, REI's music producer, LA boyfriend, whom she is still with, convinced her to return west, even though she had some music out that was really not doing much. He flew over to Maryland, helped her pack her bags, she put her dog in the car, and they drove back to LA. A month later, the K-pop Demon Hunters audition came in. When Sony Pictures Animation, who produced K-pop Demon Hunters for Netflix, informed REI that they were having a hard time casting the singing voice for the Zoey character, needing someone to sing and rap in both English and Korean, Ray immediately jumped at the opportunity as a self-trained music artist, saying, "It's everything I love. Animation, music, K-pop, it's all tugging at my heartstrings." I was like, I don't care if she raps super fast. I will figure out how to rap that fast, and I will do it. Ray said, "We were living in this really dingy, tiny, cute closet of a studio at the time in Koreatown. We were trying to figure out how we are going to pay bills, how I'm going to pay my car bill. Honestly, we were choosing between do we get dinner tonight and then not eat tomorrow?" Then the K-pop Demon Hunters audition came in, and we recorded on a cheap $40 mic. 3 days later, they offered me the role. Then, a month later, they flew me out first class to New York to start the recording process. As for Ray's feelings towards her fellow K-pop Demon Hunters music collaborators, EJAE and Audrey, she said, "These girls are the sweetest, most down-to-earth. Everyone has their own bag, their own strengths that they bring. We just have become such a tight unit, and there is nobody on this earth that understands what I'm going through other than these two girls. It is so reassuring, and it feels so safe to have them, to be on this journey."